Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. We're doing a different video today. We're doing a video for the Living in Spain playlist. Got a couple of messages from a couple of my subscribers last week, basically just asking if it'd be possible that I could do like a cost of living in Spain video. So this is what we're doing today. Cost of living in Spain, average cost for a single person living in Spain. So I really hope you guys enjoy this video. Please remember to subscribe, like the video, and of course if you've any questions or if I've left anything out, please let me know in the comments below. So obviously to make this video as fair and transparent as possible, what I've done is I have sectioned it into 7 items, which I believe are the 7 items that most people will need. A few of them on the list are going to be fairly obvious, but there'll be a few extras that you may not need. But anyway, the 7 items are as follows. Number 1 is rent, most important thing. Number 2 is lights, water and rubbish. Number 3 will be internet. Number 4 will be food, keeping yourself fed. Number 5 will be owning a vehicle, which is completely optional, but I will add it in here anyway because a lot of people want to own a vehicle. And then number 6 is sundries, extras, you know, nights out, you know, eating in restaurants, that kind of thing. So we'll start off with rent. Firstly and most importantly is finding a place for you to stay, a roof over your head. That's super important. Now, property prices as far as renting is concerned can vary greatly. There are a lot of contributing factors which will determine how much you end up paying per month for a property. And in my opinion, these are the location of the property. So, you know, if you have a property that's, for example, you know, smack bang in the city centre where it's all happening, be prepared to pay a lot more than, say, a property that was maybe in the outskirts of the city or like a suburb, or perhaps inland, such as myself. And furthermore, yeah, if you decide to get a property on the beachfront, you're going to be paying top dollar. But anyway, for myself, I pay €650 a month for a 2-bedroom cottage in the rural countryside, which is around the median average. It's a little bit on the high end, but obviously this property is quite close to vital road networks, quite close to the nearest town, and it's also just a hop, skip and a jump from the coast as well. So it's a really prime location, which is why I pay perhaps maybe a little bit more than the average Joe would pay for a rural property. So you need to bear that in mind. But yeah, let's just kind of break it down. Let's just say you're a single person. You're only going to benefit from a 1-bedroom property. So you can get a studio in the outskirts of the city for as little as €350 per month, which is really cheap. Comparatively, if you got a studio in the city centre, be prepared to pay at least €400 to €500 a month, and there's no upper limit. You know, if you stay somewhere like Madrid, city centre Madrid, you know, you can pay €700 a month for a 1-bedroom property or a studio. But obviously, conservatively speaking, you know, if you wanted to save as much money as possible and you're a single person and you only need a place to rest your head for the evening, you could get a studio for €350 a month, maybe even less. But be warned, it will literally be a pull-out bed and a couple of chairs, and that is your whack. So, moving on, if we are, for example, a reasonably sized family, so we've got mum, dad and 2 kids, you're going to really want to think about maybe upgrading or getting a property with maybe at least, you know, 2 separate bedrooms, 1 bedroom for the kids, another bedroom for mum and dad. So you can get a 2-bedroom apartment depending on the location, but like I said, bottom end, you could probably find a 2-bedroom apartment which is reasonably nice for around €450 a month, bottom end. But again, the upper end has no limit. It all really depends on where you want to stay and where the property is located. But generally speaking, from a minimalist point of view, you can get a 2-bedroom apartment for as little as €450 a month, and again, perhaps even less. But just beware, you may end up paying fees for immobiliaria if you decide to rent through an estate agent. But again, I can do another video on that if you wish to do so. But be prepared to pay an average for a studio or 1-bedroom flat between €350 €500 per month, and for a 2-bedroom apartment between 400 and, as I said, there's no upper limit. If you are wanting to live in a detached property like a villa, a house, a townhouse, like a semi-detached house, again the price is going to go up in increments, so you're looking at a median average of around €500 upwards for a detached property, or basically a property that is not an apartment, not on a block of flats. Okay, so that's the average rough guideline price for you know, these properties, particularly in this area where I'm living, which is the Costa del Sol. So bear that in mind when you are looking for a property. But over and all, it's really, really cheap. Price per square foot or square metre down in this part of the country is really, really cheap. And so it's something to bear in mind if you're thinking about moving to Spain. Look carefully as to where and what part of the country that you want to move to, you know. But again, a couple of helpful websites to look for properties are idealista.com. I'll put a link to them down in the description. Fotocasa.com. I'll also put a link down there, and I'll see if I can pull up any other useful websites that might help you, you know, get an idea how much it would cost to live here. You can look at properties, you can search and refine your search and all that stuff. So have a look on there, and you can sort of get your own idea of how much it would cost to live in any property in any part of Spain. Okay. And secondly, we're moving on to lights and water and rubbish. This is a very short and sweet one. Again, it all really depends on the size of the property. It really depends on how much energy you use. So for me, I work from home, so I'm using electricity more or less at least 12 hours a day, and obviously during the summer I've got that aircon on full blast for at least 8 or 9 hours a day because it is so damn hot here. So to give you guys an idea, my average monthly spend on electricity during the summer was around €80, and I've only got one aircon unit and it basically cools this living room, and I've got a fan in the bedroom. So if you have an aircon in the living room and you have another aircon unit in the bedrooms, be prepared to pay a lot more. But as I said, you know, for a one bedroom sort of apartment, you're going to be looking at around between 60 and €80 a month for all your energy, okay, during the summer. Once winter comes around, obviously you're not going to be using the aircon, so that will bring the price down a little bit. But know this, it does get cool in winter, it does get cool. A lot of people will use a gas fire, they will use an electric heater. Contrary to the popular belief that it's always hot and sunny in Spain, that is not the case. During the winter it can get bitterly cold, even down in the south coast, and me personally, back in the winter I was using my gas fire every day, and it cost €13 for a 13 kilogram bottle of butane. So bear that in mind. But like I said, your average monthly sort of energy bill is going to be between sort of 50 and €60 upwards. For a sort of one bedroom apartment slash studio. Studio you'll pay a little bit less. 2 bedroom apartments, obviously family homes, that's going to just kind of be a little bit higher, of course. Yeah, absolutely. You know, if there's more people, you know, with iPads and computers, Xboxes and fridges and aircons and all that stuff, yeah, it's going to get a little bit more expensive for a family home. But for a single person, such as myself, 50 to €60 a month is around the median average over the course of the year. So again, it's quite cheap. It is really cheap, because I know back home in the UK, I think I'd be paying around at least £90 a month for a 1-2 bedroom house. So it is cheap. Here is really cheap. And yet, always something you need to talk about with your landlord when you do eventually rent a property, whether it be through an estate agent or a landlord. Always ask about how the lights are going to be paid, because my landlord gets a bill every 3 months, but I pay him monthly, and if after the 3 months the bill is cheaper, he'll just knock it off my next month's rent, and it works out good. So yeah, average median price for lights and electricity, about £50-60 euros a month, sorry. And also with water and waste, usually 80 to 90% of the time the water and waste is included in the price of the rent, so you don't really need to worry about that. But if it's not, again, please always ask your landlord or your estate agent what the deal is as far as paying any extras is concerned. Now we're moving on to our next topic, which is internet and entertainment. Well, entertainment, we'll leave that to the last, but internet, yeah. There are a lot of options in Spain for internet. Mainly speaking, you can get fibre internet here now, which is great. Spain was a little bit kind of sort of slagging behind everyone else as far as, you know, internet options and packages, because the reality is we only got fibre sort of widely available around 3 or 4 years ago. So it's quite a relatively new technology here, would you believe it? Spain, in a lot of respects, is kind of stuck in the dark ages, but we're not going to talk too much about that. But yeah, there are options available for various different packages and prices. Myself, I live in the countryside, so unfortunately I can't get a stable fibre connection, so I use a 4G router, 30 megabytes download speed and around 5 megabytes upload speed. It's not the greatest, but I only pay €50 a month for that, and it's unlimited which is good. If you want a fast fibre stable connection, if you're in the city or the town and that is available to you in that area, you can expect to pay around €60 minimum for a really good fast stable connection. And again, if there's any other packages you guys want on top of that, things like TV, movies, calls, extra mobile phones and stuff like that, be prepared to pay a little bit more. Internet is not famously cheap in Spain. It's a little bit modestly priced, but there are loads of options out there for you. But be prepared to pay around €50 a month for internet. Okay. As far as mobile telephony is concerned, it really depends. I don't have a contract for a mobile phone. I use a pay-as-you-go, and I pay €10 a month, and I get 5 gigs of data and a couple of hundred minutes to call nationally for that. So yeah, €10-15 a month for a data package on a pay-as-you-go SIM card. So overall, it's about an average price, at least between €50 and €60 a month for internet and calls. Okay. Now moving on to the next one is food. Food. Please don't scrimp on food, people. I know so many people who live here who spend a minimal amount of money on food so that they can enjoy more beer and more cigarettes and more hookers and stuff like that. It's madness. Do not scrimp on food. It is vitally important to keep yourself well fed, healthy and nurtured. Okay, and food is not expensive in Spain. In fact, as far as the cost of living is concerned, Spain is one of the cheapest countries to eat. And that's why the Spaniards are so healthy, because they eat well for very, very little. So your average supermarket weekly shop is around €25 per person. I personally spend around €25 a week in Mercadona, which is a really large sort of chain of supermarkets you'll find in every town in Spain. You will 99.9% of the time be spending your money in Mercadona, because they're just everywhere and they're so good. The prices are amazing and the selection's pretty decent as well. Don't expect to find a lot of brand names in Mercadona. They have their own brand of stuff. If you want things like, Hellmann's mayonnaise or a particular brand of peanut butter or whatever, that kind of stuff, chocolates and stuff, you might want to look elsewhere, perhaps somewhere like Carrefour. But if you shop at Carrefour, your weekly shopping expenses are going to jump up significantly, because Carrefour is incredibly expensive. But yeah, for an average weekly shop, it's around €25 a week, and for that I can get all my milk for the week, coffee, eggs, bread, a wheelbarrow full of veggies. Veggies and fruit are so cheap. Well, not so much fruit, but veggies are cheap in Spain, particularly tomatoes. Eat your tomatoes, they're really good for you. And I can probably get a couple of nice bits of salmon and maybe a wee cut of steak for that as well. €25 per week per person is a conservative amount to spend. But I don't really like to eat a lot of rich and fancy foods. I eat very basically but healthily. I only ever really cook with fresh produce, fresh veg, fresh meat, fresh fish, rice, that kind of stuff. So yeah, realistically speaking, you're looking at around €25 per week per person on food, which is really, really good. If you're a family, of course, use that number and sort of try and break it down and sort of distribute it between other people in your family. Obviously, if you've got a 2-month-old baby, it's not going to be €25 per week. But if you've got a 15-year-old teenager who eats like they're going to die the next day, then you need to kind of factor that into your pricing and your budgeting. But on average, per person per week, it's around €25 to €30, and that's eating really well. Okay. So guys, second last item on the list is owning and maintaining and running a vehicle. There's two sort of trains of thought here when it comes to owning a vehicle. I personally wouldn't recommend it. If you live in a central location and you have access to mass transit options such as metro, trains, buses, that kind of thing, public transport in Spain is really, really cheap. It's extremely cheap and it's fast and it's efficient and it's always on time from my experience. It may differ from place to place, but down here in Malaga, the trains are amazing. They're never late, they're so clean, they're quiet, they're modern and they're cheap as chips, really, really cheap. If you live in the city or a large town, I wouldn't recommend getting a car for the simple reason, two main things. One, parking is impossible in the city. Unless you want to pay for it, on-street parking, forget about it. And secondly, Spanish people don't really care. If they want to bump your bumper and the person in front's bumper to get into their space, they will do it. They don't give a shit. Yeah, so don't spend a lot of money on a nice fancy car because it will get ruined. If you were to get a vehicle, my suggestion would be to get a bike. I own a bike, not a bicycle, but like a scooter, you know, a gas powered bike, which I need because I live in the countryside. I need to get from place to place. I can't walk, you know, 10 miles to the nearest town. I would recommend getting a bike. They're really, really cheap to run. You can fill up a bike for like 7 to 10 euros and you can get 60 miles to the gallon. And obviously parking a bike is easy as well. One thing I should probably mention to you about buying a vehicle in Spain: if you do decide to buy a vehicle privately, you will have to pay to have that vehicle transferred into your name. And that all depends on the value of the vehicle. So if you buy a €5,000 vehicle, you're going to be paying around €200 more or less to get it transferred into your name. So my suggestion would be buy it from a dealer, a reputable dealer, but buy it from a dealer, because 9 times out of 10 they'll have their own in-house gestor who will be able to do the transfer on behalf of the company and on behalf of you. And also you'll find that the transfer fee is inclusive of the price that you pay for that vehicle. But obviously, just a word of warning: if you do buy a vehicle privately, you have to pay to have the vehicle transferred in your name, and you will have to use a gestor to do that, unless you know the red tape and the hassle involved in getting the name transferred yourself, you know, by going to the General Tráfico. Get a gestor to do it. It saves a lot of hassle and a lot of time. You will pay a tiny bit extra, but again, for an easy life, it's not bad. But yeah, just to bear in mind, if you buy a vehicle in Spain, you have to pay to have the vehicle transferred in your name. As far as yearly inspections are concerned, they're around €30, much the same as an MOT back in the UK. It has to be MOT'd or ITV'd every year. Bikes, I think, are every 2 years, and obviously that's a legal requirement. Insurance is really cheap. There's no reason not to have insurance in Spain. Firstly, because it is a legal requirement, and you can receive a fine of up to €1,500 if you do not have insurance in Spain. And if you have an accident and you hurt somebody and you don't have insurance, you are in for a whole world of pain and expense. So yeah, my yearly insurance for my bike, it's fully comp, including roadside assistance, is only €280 for the year. It's amazing, really, really cheap. For a car, add on a couple of hundred to that. All really depends on how many years no claims you've got. I don't have any, but if you've got a good few years no claims under your belt, I don't see why you wouldn't pay any more than €200 a year for fully comp. But again, all depends on the vehicle. You know, if it's a big 5 litre Ford Mustang, it's going to cost you a bit more. But if it's like a little 1.2 Vauxhall Corsa, yeah, it's going to be pretty conservatively priced. But these are just things to mention. Apart from that, running a vehicle in Spain, pretty cheap as well. Gas, it's on average about €1.40 for a litre of gasoline. Diesel's a little bit cheaper, and yeah, repairs and stuff like that, again, I can't really give you any indication because there's so many things that can go wrong, and there's so many garages and mechanics who'll give you their own price and stuff like that. But generally speaking, yeah, owning a vehicle and running a vehicle is pretty cheap in Spain. Just be wary though, the price of a vehicle, particularly cars are expensive to buy. Second-hand cars are really expensive to buy in Spain. I don't really know why, but to give you an idea, if you take an average small hatchback, let's just say an Opel Corsa, you know, 2010 with around 80,000 miles on the clock, in the UK you can pick that up for £1,000. In Spain, be prepared to pay at least triple that. I don't know why second-hand cars are so expensive here, but they are. Also the same with bikes as well, so just bear that in mind as well. Buying the car is expensive, but owning, running and maintaining it isn't that expensive, so it does balance out. But yeah, that's just something I thought I should put in there so that you guys know. And then lastly guys, there is the extras, the nights out, the meals in restaurants, that kind of stuff. This is very, very short and simple. It all really varies on how much you would normally spend on a night out. Generally speaking, yes, Spain is cheaper. You can get a 3-course meal in Spain with a nice bottle of wine for €15. It's cheap as chips. You can get a pint of beer for €1.50 if you look hard enough. But again, it all really depends on how much you drink to excess and how often you like to eat out. Me personally, I usually eat out at least once a week, just because it's something I do enjoy, and I spend no more than €20. for myself for that entire evening. I don't actually drink alcohol, so going out clubbing and dancings and stuff like that, it's not part of my repertoire. It doesn't appeal to me. I don't like it, so I really can't give you any indication of how much a massive blow crazy night out would cost with your friends, you know, going to clubs and drinking Prosecco and all that shit. If you go to Marbella or Puerto Banús, you can pay at least €100 for a night out, easily. But again, British people are famously known for spending that amount of money on a night out anyway, so it makes no difference. But personally speaking, yeah, nice meal out, you and your partner, 20-30 euros. So really cheap to eat out, really nice food as well. And that's really it, to be fair guys. I can't really think of anything else that I've missed out. If I have, please let me know down in the comments below. I will be making follow-up videos. Let me know please, I'd love to hear your opinions guys. You know, if you want me to do a particular video about any particular subject or aspect to living in Spain, I've been here for 5 years. I know my way around living here pretty well, so I can safely tell you the stuff and the information that I'm giving you is fairly accurate and up to date. But if there's another video you'd like to make on about anything, just let me know down in the comments below and I'll make it, because that's what I'm here for. But apart from that guys, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much. Please hit the like button, remember to subscribe, because we'll be doing another video in the next couple of weeks as well. And yeah, anything else, just let me know down in the comments. Thanks again, and I'll see you later.